It's another episode with me, Angelo. This is Nation Voice Tower, your most preferred YouTube channel. How have we been? As for we over here, we've been doing perfectly alright, and we've been working round the clock to see that we serve you better. Yes, I will go straight to the point without wasting much of your time. There have been investigations that have revealed lots of assets that have been found in different countries around the world allegedly belonging to ex-governors and ex-senators and ministers, even ex-military officers from Nigeria. According to my expose here, with strong ties with Dubai and the UK, I have a number of 130 Dubai assets that were traced to Nigerian ex-governors, ministers, senators, and ex-military officers. All right, these assets were allegedly among the over 800 traceable assets and other properties that were traceable to Nigerians in the United Arab Emirates, including top security and military officers. This particular short expose will give you a grip on the information of people who were in the formal government of President Muhammad Buhari and those who are still in this government that have assets worth billions of naira, millions of dollars outside the shores of Nigeria, most preferably the United Arab Emirates, most preferably in Dubai. All right, these people, there was a team that had a report and a sort of investigative report on the assets in Dubai and other countries, and handed that report over to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. But till date, we've not had anything about that report. And this report allegedly was a step to the EFCC probing not just the EFCC, other anti-graft agencies like the ICPC, the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, and other agencies that deal with money laundering and other anti-graft related crimes. Yes, so let us quickly have a grip on this information as we peruse through the expose that revealed 130 Dubai assets that were linked to ex-governors, senators, and military officers. More than 130 choice assets bought with looted funds in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, have been traced to former governors, ministers, and serving senators in Nigeria. These assets are allegedly among the over 800 traceable to Nigerians in the UAE, including top security and military officers. According to sources, this highlights all that are part of a report on the United Arab Emirates component of the three-country comparative study of fixing illicit financial flows. These three countries are Nigeria, the United Arab Emirates, and the UK, which was submitted to the Executive Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, at that time, Mr. Abdulrashid Bawa, in Abuja. The report, which was commissioned by an anti-corruption group, Human and Environmental Development Agenda, was researched and compiled by one Prof. Wenga Oduntan of Kent University. Although the report did not reveal the identity of the politically exposed persons with the assets in Dubai, Chairman of the HEDA, Olarinwaju Suraj, said, "We have left it to the EFCC to unravel them. It is so sad that our funds are being looted and stashed abroad. We are not even talking of assets in the UAE, identified with some military officers." The report claimed that Nigerian politically exposed persons and other corrupt public officers took advantage of UAE's soft system to launder funds. The report said the sheer recklessness of a system which allows politically exposed persons, that's PEPs, including 34 Nigerian ex-governors, to own 71 properties, 7 senators to own 33 properties, and 13 federal ministers to buy and own 26 properties is apparent. In the circumstances, this is a case of res ipsa loquitur. The facts speak for itself. A 2012 report stated that Nigerians had invested up to $6 billion in real estate in Dubai over 3 years, including whole floors of apartment blocks. 61. As bad as things are with respect to dating money being funneled into properties in the UK, particularly in London, Dubai is qualitatively worse. The report attributed the rush to stash funds in the UAE by top Nigerians to the weak financial system and its openness to investors. The report said the finding reached that the shortcomings in the practices of financial and professional bodies of the UAE are deep, substantive, and troubling. Corrupt Nigerian elites have managed to evade detection and massively invested into the UAE property market, particularly in Dubai. As argued by Barnaby Pace, we know that the criminal and corrupt set up bolt holes around the world in which to stash their dirty cash, with Dubai being a favored spot for many. Dubai is also a preferred destination for trade-based money laundering, TBML, IFF, and political corruption money laundering from Nigeria, precisely because the city is seen as a soft touch for all politically exposed persons and their associates. There is deliberate orchestration to make Dubai an El Dorado for property investors looking for a place to store wealth, considering that construction and real estate sectors in the UAE contributed 20% to the GDP as of 2016. The report quoted a study as saying there are not the same checks on the sources of money coming into Dubai as there are in London and elsewhere. The lack of qualitative and mandatory beneficial ownership reporting system exacerbates the UAE's significant shortcomings in relation to the interaction between luxury property market and Dubai and other emirates in the UAE operate a more laissez-faire philosophy, and the UAE generally has shaped itself into a vast bohemian desert and investment space. Bribery, corruption, illegal resource exploitation, and tax evasion are the main channels of IFFs, especially in relation to Nigeria-UK relationship in the country's extractive industries. Much more damage is done to Nigeria's financial interests by other countries as well. Indeed, Nigeria's oil and gas sector contributes 92.9% of the total amount of IFFs. The country records yearly through companies and persons operating in the highly porous yet important sector. In stolen crude oil deals alone in Nigeria suffered more than $12 billion in losses to the US between 2011 and 2014. Another $3 billion was lost to China and $839.5 million to Norway in the same period. The damage done from within by bureaucratic mischief is very significant as well. Unfortunately, there is also underreporting of production volumes and oil lifting by the NNPC and Department of Petroleum Resources (DPR). For instance, it has for long been known that the effective lobbying by oil companies is a large aspect of the stalled progress of the Petroleum Industry Bill (PIB) for nearly 20 years now, because the oil majors have been particularly vocal on potentially losing tax exemptions as a result of this law. The report made some recommendations, including a generation of politically exposed persons annually by the federal government with their data shared with some international agencies and development partners. All right, from what happened in that video, or from what you heard, there were traceable evidences that showed that most of these politicians back at home in Nigeria actually are into the habit of using monies that were taken away allegedly mischievously from the public coffers of different states back at home in Nigeria, and different parastatals and ministries where they were asked to manage, to stash in foreign accounts, thereby making them eligible to be asset owners in these countries. All right, this particular operation method or modus operandi cannot be overemphasized, because over time we have seen different politicians that have been indicted over having assets across board or outside the shores of this country. We saw when Dipreye Alameyesega, the former governor of Bayelsa State, had his own issues with the EFCC, and other anti-graft agencies. We saw when the former governor of Delta State, James Ibori, had his own issue with operatives over money laundered and stashed abroad. You know, we saw when lots of people had their own issues. Okay, we were also witnesses when other politicians like Diezani Alison Madueke had her own issues. We saw when Festus Keyamo was called out for allegedly acquiring $1 billion or $1 million property outside the shores of Nigeria. Lots of these politicians are into the habits of acquisition of expensive properties in order to avoid it being traced back to them or their cronies. But trust well-meaning Nigerians who have the eye for investigation, these particular issues will always get revealed. Of course, I'm not surprised, because even the president of the country allegedly acquired, assets outside the shores of Nigeria, some illegally, some legally, and they are still accrued or they are still linked to him. So if the president of the country can have such assets, then why not other politicians? That is that on that particular update. Now, I would love to start with an issue in Lagos State. Funsho Doherty, who was the ADC gubernatorial candidate in Lagos State in the 2023 elections, has called out Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State. In this particular interview, Mr. Funsho Doherty was of the opinion that applied the fact that he described the government of Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his administration, he described this as an administration that has not been accountable to Lagosians. He described it further as a kind of administration that further owes Lagosians an explanation for every bit of transaction, irreconcilable transactions that have taken place over time. According to Mr. Funsho Doherty, he said there must be an improvement in the procurement processes and judicious use of public funds for public interest. Please stay tuned for Funsho Doherty while he called out Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the present governor of Lagos State.
The consultancy fees, for instance, I think it's AEC is one of the companies you mentioned. There are a lot of other consultancy fees there to the tune of billions. The bulletproof Lexus for 470 million, the governor's BMW motorcycle convoys, 14 of them, 36 million, a swimming pool for the deputy governor in his residence for 10 million. What would you want to hear from the Lagos State government as far as, because I know your notes specifically said more transparency, more details, some of them should be, as we see all these figures, what do you want to hear from the state? Because we've extended an invitation for them to respond. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I think for me, and it's not just about me, I think, they need to explain to the people, when you see the comments, it's not as if we manufactured any information or what. This is just basic data that we put out. And when you look at the reaction of the people, I mean, any responsible government will know that it has touched a nerve and needs to respond to the people. And where there's need for explanation, where there's need for justification. But more importantly, I think a couple of things. One is that there should be improvements and it should be a continuous improvement exercise anyway, but there should be improvements in the procurement process. One of the points which I made, and you alluded to the fact that I had written on procurement before. I wrote on that pursuant to a letter which I had written at the time of the mass burial.
Yes.
And I said that in that letter that was leaked revealed certain things about the procurement process. And I wrote a follow-up letter to say that the procurement agency gets an admin fee on each of the procurements, and that was a conflict of interest and would affect their independence and their objectivity. And I think there's some evidence of that in some of what we are seeing. So I think that it's important that these structural things, which create incentives for people not to do the right thing, are removed, right? And ultimately, what I expect the government to do is to make the right decisions, judicious use of public funds, always in the public interest, and to govern in the interest of the people. And in the long run, the fruits of those actions will be revealed in the lives of the people.
Yeah, of course, there will always be people, well-meaning Nigerians, to call out politicians and hold them accountable, all right? If the anti-graft agencies would not do that publicly due to the fact that some people are actually considered as sacred cows in the Nigerian political system, then there are well-meaning Nigerians who have the judicial power to, sue and to unsue, who will have to actually take these cases on their heads and see to it that governments of different states, local governments, and the federal government alike are held accountable for irreconcilable transactions. That is that on the update. Finally, before I say quits, I would like to drop this. Recently, it was reported that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, jetted out to Berlin in Germany for the 4th G20 Investment Summit that is supposed to take place. But something has happened that has caught the attention of Nigerians. During the summit in Germany, in Berlin, in Germany, again, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was seen in a group photo that included world leaders. He was standing alone and isolated, while other world leaders or other leaders from other countries took the center stage. This was considered as a sort of, let's say, a sidelining, even if he had to stand there by himself or if he was pushed there by other people. But people believe strongly that people outside the shores of Nigeria have really thrown little or no importance and have thereby passed a vote of no confidence on Bola Ahmed Tinubu as regards all the saga that surrounded his emergence as president and other issues that have come up to call him out over some sort of, irreconcilable past to who he is recently. Please stay tuned for the video that had the summit, the world leaders attend the G20 Investment Summit in Berlin, and take a look how Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu stood isolated. For what reason, I may not explain. Please stay tuned.
Good morning, Your Excellency. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As the heads of states, heads of delegation, and everyone find their spot for a group picture, I want to kindly request you to remain standing. We're here in Berlin for the G20 Investment Summit, German Business and the Compact with Africa countries. It's the 20th of November 2023, and you're once more welcome. So as soon as we have the placement completed, then we will be ready for the official picture. Just bear with us. Okay, great. We are ready for the picture.
All right, welcome back. It was funny. That sounded funny, but to be very precise, I don't know if it's just me. Things are going political these days, and people are getting wiser, all right? There was no time during the time of President Muhammadu Buhari, there was no time during the time of former President Olusegun Obasanjo or Goodluck Ebele Jonathan that there were pictures snapped with world leaders and then any of these former Nigerian leaders was isolated for whatever reason. In fact, during Obasanjo's time, even if he wanted to stay aloof, they would call him to this focal point, to the center, to come and stand and take center stage. For whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe because of his leadership skills, because of the way he emerged over time. But I would love to say with no equivocation whatsoever, and I would like to tell you for free, that people, especially world leaders, have listened to different sorts of news coming up from Aso Rock, the State House, and coming up from the Nigerian political space, starting from the lack of transparency in the March collation of results, talking about the presidential election collation that was undertaken by the Independent National Electoral Commission, the same collation that was not transparent, the same collation that was less credible, the same collation that was not, very, very applauded by Nigerians and even the European Union, the same coalition that brought out or emerged Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president. So this over time has brought about controversy, and world leaders seem to look at Nigeria with awful eyes. They seem to look Nigeria in a sort of awful reaction that cannot really explain why the Nigerian president is being treated with much disdain and isolation. Thank you so much for staying this far. Please like, share and watch our videos till the end. Don't forget to drop a comment for us in the comment section, because these things you do make us go viral. And if you're watching me for the first time, please tap the subscribe button as well as the notification bell, so that when I drop a new update, you will be among the prompt people to watch me. See you next time. Bye.